This is Metabolic Radio, the podcast dedicated to keeping you informed when it comes to everything fitness. My name is Taylor Empey, and with the help of my co-host Shane Pace, we aim to expose the truths about the health and fitness industry. The information and suggestions given in this podcast should not be considered as clinical or medical advice. Consult with a physician before implementing any information provided on this podcast. Shane,
let's get it on.
Time for the Q&A.
Show.
It's the Q&A. I love Q&As because we get to connect with our people.
Yes.
Hey, put the phone away.
I always have to be on the phone.
Put it away right now before I ask you a question and you awkwardly don't answer, or you half answer it.
It's not important. Or I go into a vague. Why are you looking at me?
All right. So, Sue's got a question about turmeric. She says, turmeric is a trendy supplement used to reduce vascular inflammation. I take it probably many of the listeners do too. Do either of you advocate its use?
I've always advocated the use of this, but...
Do you want me to go or do you want to go?
Sure.
That answers both of those questions, so...
Yes, it does.
Okay. Turmeric can be taken in supplement form, but it's a spice. It's a plant. It's a root-based plant spice that's been used for thousands of years. That's I think it originated in India, and it does have quite a bit of benefits. I have yet to see anything negative about it. So I'm not sure if there's anything in terms of like overuse of it. There possibly could be. But as for its use, I see a lot of benefits. There's it naturally has a high thermic effect, so meaning that when you consume it, you'll actually feel your body warming up. Like quite literally, you'll get hot. There are some spices and plants, herbal supplements or just herbs in general that can cause certain increases in body temperature increase. So
cayenne?
Cayenne, ginger, those kind of things. They can raise. Cinnamon. They essentially, it's a little metabolic boost. Now, is it going to be, this awesome huge amount of metabolic boost? Not entirely, but it can help increase that a little bit. But it is going to give off a lot more heat. So if you're taking turmeric right before you go to sleep, probably not a good idea. You're going to have a hot night where you're going to have to be relying on fans and air conditioners and things like that.
I've taken it a lot. It's not going to do that.
No?
Not in general.
You don't think so?
No.
Because I noticed that when I take protein, which has the highest thermic effect out of the proteins, carbs, and fats.
It has never influenced me that way. But then again,
really?
Yeah. But
if I have anything protein within 3 hours of going to sleep, I get hot. So I haven't personally supplemented a lot with turmeric. I've had it in the morning with tea before, and that has elevated my personal body core temp, but that's anecdotal. So anyway, there's a potential for that.
I'm not going to say it's not possible. The odds are it won't, because it doesn't affect me at all. That way.
Well, it affects me quite heavily, so I guess our anecdotal experiences conflict.
No, it helps. It just doesn't do what you're saying.
What?
So yes.
What do you mean?
I'm saying it doesn't keep me awake and doesn't make me warm.
Okay.
I'm always warm. I'm always warm anyway.
Well, anyway.
I would not know.
Next benefit of turmeric is it's an anti-inflammatory. So this is what it's predominantly used for, I would say. So it basically decreases inflammation in the body, and as we know, inflammation is linked to many of our major diseases, cardiovascular disease especially being one of those. And there's potential links to inflammation being responsible for some cancers and things like that. So adding in some turmeric into your diet can help decrease inflammation. So along those lines, it's going to benefit things like joint inflammation. So people with like osteo or rheumatoid arthritis, they're going to benefit from taking something like this to decrease joint inflammation. So there's some evidence to support that. One thing to note about turmeric is you need to buy turmeric curcumin. Yes. Because this is the turmeric that actually has most of those benefits. So if you're buying some other derivative of turmeric, you should make sure that it's a turmeric curcumin base. And the reason for those is that's where you're going to get those curcuminoids are where you're going to get the majority of the medical benefits.
That's interesting, though.
Oh, what are you reading, Shane?
I'm reading something about black pepper.
Oh yeah.
I'm so far away you can't hear me at all.
Nope. Yeah. So, but when it's taken with black pepper, there are benefits associated with that.
It enhances the bioavailability.
Yeah, it increases its absorption, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you take it with black pepper.
Yes, sir.
It's also an antioxidant, so meaning that it's going to decrease free radical content in your body, and free radicals when in excess in your body. Now, free radicals actually are you do need. They do serve a function, but when you have excess amounts of them,
which is usual
in your body, with everything in our diets these days, free radical and not just diets, but you can get free radicals from chemical exposure,
electricity over your head,
greenhouse gases, those kind of things, pollution. All of these things, there's certain things that can increase free radical production in your body, and when you have too high of free radicals, it increases the oxidative stress that your body undergoes, and that is also has links to potential links to other conditions that are not good. So it has those antioxidant properties that help balance out the free radicals. Now, some people do go crazy with antioxidants, and you can overdo it,
and that's a bad thing.
So you don't want to overdo it with that. So don't just start dumping turmeric curcumin into everything that you consume, because some supplement companies will push antioxidant consumption to an extreme because it's marketable and it's popular and those kind of things. So antioxidants play a role, but don't overdo it. Kind of what one of our references is saying is that about daily consumption of approximately 1 gram to potentially a little bit more than that could be the beneficial intake of this. And another thing to note about turmeric is that it actually has neurological benefits. It helps the production of the brain hormone BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. And
which was a term I did not know until today.
It's talked about on Smart Drug Smarts.
Oh.
And it's also talked on
quite a few of their episodes.
I can't remember. I was listening to a interview that Darren Hardy from Success Magazine did on one of his things with I think they were a dietitian. I can't remember, but he was talking about the productivity benefits of diet, and he was talking about BDNF as well. So
gotcha. Yeah, I just hadn't heard that term before.
So there's some interesting stuff about BDNF, or brain-derived neurotropic factor. So check that out if you're interested in neuroscience stuff. But it also, turmeric, curcumin, as a result of this, will also lower risks for development of neurological diseases, actually. So things like Alzheimer's, dementia, it's shown to lower risks of those conditions. And so just in general, I mean...
See, and I think that's partly due to the fact that it fights inflammation. Inflammation is a big factor in that.
Yeah, so I mean, that's what's kind of the main proponent of this spice is the anti-inflammatory impacts.
I think a lot of people actually take it for the cognitive and the cardiovascular reasons.
Tim Ferriss, who's super big into kind of life hacks and stuff.
He's a 4-hour guy.
Yeah. So if you've read The 4-Hour Body, The 4-Hour Chef, The 4-Hour Work Week, those kind of things, those are his books. Some of his stuff,
interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's the polite way.
But I believe he has this weird concoction that he does in the morning that I've heard him talk about, and it includes a large dose of turmeric.
He's an interesting guy. If somebody wants to go in and research stuff he's done.
Yeah. So those are kind of the main benefits of turmeric. And so her next question, this would be interesting to talk about. Does the epidemic occurrence of added sugar in so many prepared foods, or 2, the ketogenic diet, hasten or delay or have no effect on the efficient absorption of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, or other nutrients.
And I'm going to sit back and listen to Taylor.
Is this going to be one of the episodes where I talk the majority of the time?
I don't know. We'll see.
Sounds like it's kind of going on.
I don't know.
I just wrote down a couple points.
No, you're good. I just want to hear what you have to say on this.
So the first one, she's talking about because there's so much high sugar consumption these days. She's saying, one, does that hasten, delay, or have no effect on nutrient absorption? In fact, we know that sugar causes dramatic blood sugar increases. Basically, it's a simpler sugar is actually going to increase absorption. It's going to increase absorption of certain nutrients. Like, for example, it's not going to increase fat-soluble vitamin absorption. Fat would, because it's fat-soluble. But when you take in simple sugars, it can expedite nutrient absorption.
It couldn't, because it would cause, in that category, it would cause your insulin levels to spike, which would actually cause you to have less problem. I mean, not less problems. You have less absorption of a lot of these. It would restrict your reactions. It would increase fat.
You're saying
cells
sugar
sizes.
Wait. Sugar would limit absorption?
It would actually cause a higher absorption into fats, is what it would cause because of insulin spiking.
Oh, you're saying of putting nutrients,
yes.
Storing nutrients in fats.
Yes, it would do that. It would do that for sure.
Yeah, I thought you were saying that it would limit it.
No. It wouldn't limit it.
Yeah.
Insulin would
because
cause it to
that
increase.
happens. That's released from the pancreas. That has nothing to necessarily do with small intestine.
No,
absorption.
right. I was just thinking through some of the stuff it would do physiologically, and one of the things it would do is cause the spiking of insulin, and which would cause you to lose. Your muscles wouldn't go catabolic because it can't do that in insulated insulin state.
Because that's an anabolic hormone. It's
correct. Well, it's not anabolic. It's an anti-catabolic reaction with insulin.
Well, remember the anabolic just means to build, and that means fat storage is an anabolic state. So it's fat storage and a muscle building.
Okay, that's fair.
Promoting hormone.
It doesn't promote muscle building. It restricts catabolic muscle breakdown.
From my research and education, it's described as a anabolic hormone. But
that's intriguing.
IGF-1.
IGF-1,
which is a different thing.
Well, it's insulin-like. Is what it is. But
anyway,
sorry, I digress. I will now lean back. I was leaning back. This is not me leaning back. Well,
that's good. Well, no, I want you to give insight into this next one, but because I just have one point to make about it. So sugar is going to expedite macro and micronutrient absorption, pretty much, to answer that. Ketogenic diet, does that hasten or delay or have no effect on efficient nutrient absorption? Now, when we talk about nutrient absorption in general, you have different digestive enzymes that are key in order to absorb specific nutrients. So if for some reason you're something going on in your body where you lack certain digestive enzymes, then nutrient absorption in general will just be inhibited. But also nutrient absorption will be inhibited by any breakdown or loss of those nutrients, because you're not going to net everything that you consume. When you consume things, often many quality or parts of nutrients are lost in the absorption process. But when it comes to ketogenic diet, you're eating high fat, so you're going to definitely increase your ability to absorb fat-soluble vitamins, which are vitamins A, D, E, and K, which you do need to be careful of too high a consumption of those, because they can become toxic in the body if you have too much of that. So do watch that. But so as for absorption of those nutrients, I would say it's going to increase your ability to absorb them. But fat, because of its energy density, can slow the digestive and absorptive process in general. That's why you'll hear some people talk about, don't have, and it's splitting hairs. It doesn't really matter as much on a daily or weekly level, but they'll say don't consume fats post-workout because it's going to slow the absorption of amino acids and uptake of those, where sugar might actually help expedite it, or carbohydrates in general, but mostly simple sugars. So, that's pretty much what I have to say on that. Do you want to talk more about how ketogenic diets impact that? Shane?
No, you're on it. I'm currently doing my sitting back, letting him talk, and researching insulin.
Oh, wonderful. Now, so yeah, it really, when it comes down to it, it just depends on the vitamin, the mineral, or the amino acid or nutrient we're talking about. But that gives you an idea of nutrient absorption. Sugar is often used in the fitness community as a way to quote unquote expedite recovery post workout, which there is some science to support that. But in general, if you're refeeding your body the nutrients it needs within a reasonable time frame after a workout, then you're going to recover just fine. But yes, sugar, there is some evidence to support that it might speed up the recovery process. But that, like I said, it's not necessarily something that is like a huge deal that you need to necessarily, do all the time. Like it's not going to give you crazy effects, but it will help. Now, this is something that I do want you to chime in on, Shane. Is she talks about the blood type diet. So this is the diet research has been done on and kind of been packaged around. No. I'm just saying around this person. His name is Dr. Peter Diadamo. I don't know how to pronounce it. D''Adamo. Diadamo. Anyway, he wrote the book. I believe it's called "Eat Right for Your Type."
Yep.
And there's another one at least that goes along with it. And the theory behind this is that certain blood types, there's evidence supposedly that certain blood types come from specific geographical areas, if you trace things back ancestrally far enough and whatnot, to certain regions around the world. And certain regions around the world only had access to certain types of foods. So he's saying that your body essentially adapted to eating those types of foods because you hailed from that region. And that's kind of the idea behind it. And they're saying that basically certain foods that your quote-unquote blood type, they will view certain foods as, how do they put it? What's the opposite of toxic?
I don't know where you're going.
I don't know. Anyway, he basically treat it as very effective, nutritious food sources, abundant nutritious food sources, and there will treat other foods. I'll figure it out later. And then other foods are treated as toxic in the body. So medicinal, foods are treated like medicine, basically. So they're saying that based off these certain regions, some people might be better at eating a high seafood diet. Some people would be better at eating all plant-based diet. Some people would be better at eating a red meat or a high fat or different things like that. And so that's kind of what the premise is. Now, I want to hear your thoughts on it, Shane. I have a couple points, but
it's crazy.
Crazy.
So the problem with it is the studies that are used for this thought process were all created by the author.
Yep, that was what I was going to say.
And when you have a scenario where all the other evidences on the planet don't lean towards this statement, and the author comes across some miracle thing that only seems to work when he does studies, it makes for a falsified creative thought process, in my opinion. I believe in anything to do with the blood type diet? No. Not even slightly.
So yeah, pretty much. I went and I have the book.
Is this a quote in the question?
What? Oh yeah, she did ask.
If that is the question,
Sue was saying, is this junk science, or is there even a grain of truth to it?
And I'm going to tell you my personal straight up thought process on this, and opinion, and everything that I've read, everything dealing with this kind of thing, is it is absolutely junk science, and there is no grain of truth to it at all.
So, I'll be honest in that I haven't delved into research not conducted by him, but it's funny because if you go to his website, you'll see that everything is oriented around promotion of products. He has his books that he sells, which they are Eat Right for Your Type and Live Right for Your Type, I believe is what they're called. I don't know if that's all of what he's authored or whatnot, but it's oriented around selling his books and more specifically directing you towards supplementation. There's a little metric in there that has you classify your body type. You say, what is your body type? And then I think it says, what conditions are you experiencing? And there's this laundry list of like things that you're negative physiological things that you're experiencing. And then it points you towards a supplement regimen. This is and then it does have a column. I was looking for scientific backing. I was looking for any type of references that he had to scientific studies that would actually support his claims. And it's funny because he does. And just like Shane said, guess who's the author? Himself. So of course, there's an inherent bias in his research that's oriented around looking for evidence that will support his claims. So I would have been much more impressed if these had been linked to studies that were clinical trials, randomized, large group of people, long-term study, double-blind, and repeatable type studies that were not conducted by him and were not conducted by a party that had any conflict of interest or financial interest, which is the case, or is not the case, because he does have financial interest. So I'm just really not impressed. If you look at it, you got to be careful when you're talking about fitness authorities or health and any type of authority, really. Do they have a certain level of education? Yes. Are they credible on certain topics? Potentially, yes. But you have to look at how is it being framed, and is this in my best interest? And if you look at it, the way everything is set up is it's a business. He uses his credentials and his level of education and scientific articles that may have credibility but may not. I don't think based off scientific method, I don't really think they're as credible, especially because he's the author of them or the main head researcher. And I didn't see too many other individuals included in it. It just seems very, very biased towards selling his products, selling his books, selling supplements. And if you think about the claims made based off of blood type, I mean, I've read part of the Eat Right for Your Type book and looked at what's this? Why don't you read it and then tell me, because I don't want to read it on the mic.
Oh, no, that's about this.
Okay, read it and then you can chime in.
I'll chime in right now reading it.
Do it.
In a large observational study of 1,455 young adults eating a type A diet, lots of fruits and vegetables was associated with better health markers. But this effect was seen in everyone following the type A diet, not just an individual with type A blood. In a major 2013 review study where researchers examined the data from over 1,000 studies, they did not find a single well-designed study looking at the health effect of the blood type diet. They concluded no evidence currently exists to validate the purported health benefits of blood type diets.
Boom, there you have it. So
that's why I wanted to read it on the mic.
No, that's perfect. But you have to really be careful these days with these types of situations, because everybody has an agenda. Everybody has a thing to sell, and part of good marketing or effective marketing, not necessarily ethical marketing, but part of effective marketing is building authority and credibility. And if you can put yourself out there as an authority with credentials or with research or even pseudoscience, people that don't know how to interpret that kind of stuff will look at that as credible. Just because someone has letters after their name doesn't mean that they're credible. And just because someone doesn't have letters after their name doesn't mean they're not credible, and vice versa. So you just really have to look at the individual situation for what it is and make a good judgment call based off that. But there are lots of people out there that are doing this. There are people in the fitness industry that do this. There are people in the medical industry that do this. And that's why the weight loss industry and the supplement industry and things like that are such huge booming industries, because they're hard to regulate and it's easy to make a buck because everybody wants to lose weight, and it's very easy for you to formulate products and pseudoscience around these kinds of concepts. So I even personally experimented with blood type dieting a few years ago, and I also would look at those types of factors when I was dealing with clients. And I saw no benefit from including blood type dieting with my individual clients and myself. My specific situation, it was telling me that certain foods would be treated as toxic in my body that I actually ate on the regular and enjoyed and never had any issues with. The only time I had an issue with food in terms of a digestive issue or something like that was with a dramatic overconsumption of certain food items, and that ended up being a gut flora issue, not a blood type issue.
Right.
Because when you mess with gut bacteria and digestive enzymes, you can deplete certain bacteria and digestive enzymes by over consuming on specific foods, and then when you consume those foods again, you don't have as much of those enzymes to break them down. Yep. Now you have a digestive gut flora issue. So that's what mine ended up being. It had nothing to do with blood type.
Well, gut flora has been shown to have evidences towards weight control.
And there's
by like crazy levels.
Yeah, and there's way better, more substantial evidence and research to support gut flora.
Yeah, there's a lot of research on gut flora in dealing with dieting type things way beyond this. And like I said, nothing that I've seen, everything points away from it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
There isn't anything that points. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you follow the diet's not bad. But it'll work for anybody.
Yeah, the diet itself, well, depending, because each blood type is given a different prescribed diet.
What I'm saying is the whole basis behind their diets themselves won't hurt you. The good things in them is good for anybody.
Yeah, they're just a different type of approach to healthy eating. But in terms of the claims of that a certain blood type should eat a specific diet, there's just really no evidence to support. No. And there's way too many factors to control for.
Absolutely.
Like just because a blood type came from a specific part of the world, maybe if you traced it back far enough, there's other factors like who did the various generations breed with, and the other genetic factors that come into play, and there's so many moving parts. You can't isolate that.
We'll make this really easy, and I will just stamp ludicrous on this, and we'll move to the next question.
Okay, yeah. All right. The next question comes from Bree Linda.
Good old Bree. Bree, you have been spoken of. Hi, Bree.
Shane shared all your questions with me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. She says, how much water... She has a few questions. How much water should I drink?
Enough.
What's enough?
More than what most people drink and less than what some people drink.
So, the basic little equation I use, and it's approximate. Everybody's different. It really is going to depend on your activity level a lot. How much you sweat.
That's
the environment you live in.
Environment for sure. She's a
Minnesotian.
Whatever.
Minnesotans.
I'm
pretty sure that's what they call it. I've been there
Bree,
once.
I don't know. So you may have to tell me.
I'm sorry, it's Minnesota, right?
That's true.
But
depends on how long you've lived there, I guess.
I spent about 2 weeks there once when I was building a training company out there for somebody, and I picked up an accent. I guess I'm that malleable and influenceable.
Wow, 2 weeks is impressively quick.
Right? Yeah. I was like, it's time for me to go.
Right.
But anyway, so to answer your question, I use taking your weight in pounds times that number by 0.5. That's the bare minimum amount of fluid ounces that you drink of water per day. And then I take that same weight in pounds times that by 0.8, and that's the cap on fluid ounces of water that you drink per day. But that's a really general way to measure it. Another factor is, like I said, if you're doing a lot of activity, you need to replace not just water, but electrolytes as well. You need to replace sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. Make sure your food intake is adequate, because hydration is not just about water. Hydration is about a lot of those other factors, and that those impact intracellular and extracellular hydration balance.
Yeah, that's true.
And so don't just drink a ton of water. You need to actually replace electrolytes according to your water intake.
Well, right. And yeah, if you drink too much water, you'll flush them. So
exactly.
That's true.
That's kind of the method that I use for estimating water intake. But
I would drink water before I would not drink water, though.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah.
So
also, an easy way to gauge it is look at the color of your urine. If your urine's really dark yellow, if it's cloudy or opaque, that's a sign that you're underhydrated. And if it's completely clear, you're probably overdoing it a little bit.
Well, yeah, but okay, so understand there's that though that is a very good rule to live by. The reality is, you start taking vitamins or you start taking any kind of supplementation, you're going to change the color of that, and you can actually get dark stuff just by taking turmeric. So
yeah, there's other factors. Like,
there's other factors.
Beets, obviously, your urine's going to come out much darker and a little opaque.
Yep. And so you understand that's though that's fairly true. That's not necessarily true. It's still a good gauge, for lack of a better word, though.
Yeah.
Next
was also from her. We have a lot of this questions coming from a couple people this week.
We shall stay on the brie.
Yeah. So she says, I'm sometimes sore for over a week. I assume this means after a workout. Yep. How do you know if you are overdoing it?
Well, okay, so let's take it from a different standpoint. I'm not going to talk about it directly on that, because that doesn't necessarily mean you're overdoing it. So let's say you're trying to get into an exercise program and you're trying to get into physically better shape. So my recommendation is you don't go in and kill it. You don't go in there and overdo it. You don't push yourself extremely. You work into it and you build a not a resistance, but a tolerance to exercise, so you don't have to hurt yourself. You don't have to push yourself to that extreme. So if you're getting to the point where it's too much, don't do it. That way you can build a tolerance to it and actually get so you can actually do more and more and more. Doesn't mean you aren't striving to do more, but work within, like we talked about before. If you are someone that sits around, and I mean this is the greater you to everybody in the world, but if you're a person that sits around on a couch and does very little, if you get up and walk to the TV, you're doing exercise. If you go and you walk to the kitchen, you're doing exercise. If you walk around your house, you walk around your neighborhood, you're doing exercise. You go to the gym.
Well, it's physical activity. It's a little different.
It's a form of exercise, though. So, and he's right. There is a difference. But those kind of things are slowly moving you into a better physical condition. So if you're doing, they call it NEAT. If you're doing stuff like that, which isn't really a true exercise type, mentality, you're still doing exercises.
So what's NEAT?
You would have to ask me a question. I would have to look up to quote what it
Non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
Nicely done.
It's a fancy way to say it's the energy burned from non-exercise activity.
When you're actually
physical activity.
Yeah, just moving around. But that's the whole idea. See, that was him calling me out on something that I know what it is, but I don't know the actual wording.
Terminology.
Because he's being a jerk.
In one of the past episodes, I'm referencing a past episode. I'm referencing what we have already recorded, but it may air differently. But BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor,
which I admitted I did not know.
Yeah, so that one's a mouthful.
Yes, it is, and that's why I'm not saying it. You are anyway. But if you use that philosophy and you do those kind of moving around, vacuuming, that kind of stuff, it's gonna give you physical activity, and it's gonna give you an exercise base. So as you move into other things, you'll be more ready to do more things. My recommendation is to work out in such a way that you feel it, but it doesn't destroy you when you're doing it. In fact, to be honest, my recommendation is you never destroy yourself unless you're pushing yourself for one time.
Yep.
It's overdoing it, and that's overkill anyway. So that's kind of a side walk around it answer to your question, because it doesn't really answer that, but. I know that you worked out with a trainer, so let's talk about it directly. I know you worked out with a trainer, and our conversation about that was that he was destroying you for no reason, and I didn't like him as a trainer.
Which, if you go back to our episode where we talk about how to find a good trainer, that's a sign of not necessarily a good trainer. It's a big red flag if during an initial, if even in initial few weeks or months of training, if they're pushing you beyond or to your threshold, or really like killing you in the gym, or doing that for your quote unquote assessment. Yeah, that's a big red flag.
Is a huge red flag. But if they're doing it, to push you a little bit, I get it. If they're trying to make you go a little bit beyond what you feel comfortable with, I get it. But yeah, he was extreme. So in the circumstance of working out, like I said, I would tell you to build into it and do exercises that are smart, do movements that are intelligent, And if you are sore for an entire week, I would say back off a little bit. Do them more often at less intensity. So more days.
Yeah.
And that'll make you feel less sore, and it will make you have, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, the evidences that have been placed in front of me from a lot of people, it'll give you better results, as well as it will cause you less torture through the rest of your week.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's a lot of this focus in the fitness industry on going super hard, super intense, really pushing it. You know, you see all these posts about going beast mode and all these crazy workouts. And one example of this we've talked about is some CrossFit franchises will focus on like really high intensity, really high volume, potentially risky workouts, and those kind of things. And really, it's just trendy. You don't have to be working to failure all the time. You don't have to be killing it. You don't have to be doing ridiculous high volumes and high amounts of reps and sets in an individual workout, depending on your level of athleticism. I think she had mentioned in there too that delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS, was a factor. It's not on the specific question right there, but it was in the paragraph, the email or whatever. And what delayed onset muscle soreness is when you like work out really hard, or you just work out in general, and like 1, 2, 3 days later you get sore, but you're not sore like right after the workout. That's just kind of a physiological reaction that takes place. DOMS is not necessarily a bad thing. It kind of just depends on the level.
It's not necessarily a good thing either.
Well, yeah.
That's just a thing. It's
not good. It's not bad. It's a thing.
It's a thing. It happens. It doesn't happen to everybody, and it doesn't happen every time.
As I say, Uncle Dom comes to visit.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you this, okay? As a predecessor to stuff we're working on, it is something that if you can, if you're working out and you start to have pain 1 day, 2 days later, if you do the same exercises that you did in the workout preceding it with lighter weight, it will actually help with that excessively.
Oh yeah, in terms of increasing recovery.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, were you saying
for many reasons, but
where you're saying I'm sometimes sore for over a week? Right there, it just tells me that whatever it is it's a little too much intense. I mean, for a muscle group to stay sore, and if you're talking about the same group of muscles, to be sore for 7 days. Do you know if she was active in between that? Like, did she work out and then rest for 7 days?
No, to be honest, I don't remember.
Anyway, that's indicative to me of overtraining. It could just be, if that was your very first workout, that's pretty typical. Like, if you have not worked out prior to that and that was your first initial experience, when you're first getting into resistance training or even body weight training, which is resistance, it's just a lot lighter than using heavy free weights. Your body's going to not be acclimated to that. So higher amounts of soreness are pretty normal. But if you've been doing this for a little while, your body's getting acclimated to using resistance, then I think that you're probably just overdoing it a little bit. Either back off the amount of weight you're using or how many sets or reps you're doing with that, and just focus on really mastering the movement.
Movement's more important anyway.
Yeah, focus on the technique. Don't go to failure. Still challenge yourself. Still let it burn a little bit. Space things out more. Do it more frequently with less intensity, like Shane was talking about, and I would start with that.
Yep.
So, let's see. Last question. Are the ingredients in pre-workouts that make you tingle helpful or harmful?
Personal opinion, neither.
So you think it's just neutral?
Yeah. Well, niacin's got some things that potentially are helpful, but overall, eh.
So we've mentioned it in a past episode.
Taylor likes it.
I like them. I like them because I like the feel. That's it. They are used. They're included in supplements when you look at it from a science standpoint. There is some evidence to support that when I say Shane shows like a little segment, little pinched amount of research to support that beta-alanine and the B vitamin niacin will cause a flushing sensation, which will increase blood flow, and beta-alanine specifically can curb the buildup of lactate in the muscle, which will allow you to perform, anaerobic activity for a little bit longer period of time, essentially. And does this really matter? For the top 1% of athletes,
maybe.
Yeah, like it's going to give you like a slight edge, and that's if the tingling effect doesn't distract you from your workout. To be honest,
I agree with that too. So I will say I'll say one thing myself on this really quick, and then we'll call this probably good. But okay, so an example of something that's in most pre-workouts is caffeine. So caffeine, one thing that caffeine will do for you, because it'll give you that tingling feeling too, depending on if you ever have it. See, if I have it, it makes me absolutely jittery because I don't have caffeine in my system ever. But it will make you more focused. Being more focused, is it helpful? Yes. Without question, being more focused is helpful.
Well, there's way more research to support the use of caffeine versus these
others.
Well,
and let me tell you some stuff about caffeine that Taylor and I have not talked about. So one of the things is it will actually open your blood flow up substantially when it comes to your body. When it comes to your body, it actually will open up your blood flow extensively. Your brain, it will restrict it. So.
Oh no, you're right.
So right. It does two things to you. So what'll end up happening is it'll cause you to have more focus and more blood flow through your workout. Are those technically helpful? Yes. Do I think that you need them? No. Does that make sense? And so when you say, is it helpful or harmful? I don't think you need them.
It may give some people an edge, but with where you're at, most likely it won't matter.
Yeah, unless even high end athletes. I really think pre-workouts you can do them
with athletes is there's some ingredients in supplements, and caffeine is one of them that is a banned substance.
That's true. In performance, depending on when they do it. In training, they can have caffeine.
Yeah, it depends on which sport, what organization, and things like that.
And timelines, a lot of timing in that. So, but anyway, to answer that, hopefully that answers a little bit. But Seabury, you're not ignored.
Well, and one last point on that is, like we said, is there scientific basis to put the ingredients in certain supplements? Yes. Yeah, that's what they have. They kind of they don't need it, but it sells better when you can justify it like that and use a scientific claim. But when you think about it, we're skeptical, and what really is the situation is that they put these types of ingredients in supplements in order to elicit an effect in your body, so you feel it working. Yes. And why do you think I said that at the very beginning of this question? Is I take beta-alanine in high doses in a clinical effective dosages in my supplement prior to my workout because I enjoy the tingling sensation. I do not use. Shane's over here joking like he pretended to put a syringe in his arm, like that's how I'm taking my supplements. Apparently, high doses. No, but I literally just take it for the effect. I really just like the effect, and so that's why I take it.
And that's why I was giving him
which is exactly why people will buy them, is because they want to feel the supplement working. They want to feel their heart rate increase. They want to feel their tingling sensation, like, oh, there's something going on physiologically in my body that's working, and it kind of creates that.
Based on that, just the effect you can actually get an effect that's not real, that will work like it's real, just because you think it works. So
placebo.
Yeah, right. And so that the placebo effect is something that is a real deal. So, I mean, like I said, helpful, harmful, whatever. I don't think you need it, but if you want it and it doesn't mess with you too bad, sweet.
Yeah, I would say with the tingling ones, it's not for everybody, and some people don't realize that those ingredients are in pre-workouts. So just if you've never taken a pre-workout before and you're considering taking one, read the label, and if it has beta-alanine or niacin or the B vitamin in there, is it 6? I get them mixed up. I can't remember, but it's niacin.
No, niacin's 2 or 3.
Anyway, it will cause, depending on the amount that's in there, it'll cause cause quite a tingling or itchy sensation, and a lot of people don't like it. Also, another thing to note is that the effective dosage of beta-alanine itself is 4 grams, I'm pretty sure, which is a ridiculous amount. You do not want to take 4 grams of beta-alanine if you've never had it before. I take that amount, but that's because I've built a tolerance up to it. The majority of these supplements are going to have maybe a gram, maybe a gram and a half, I think is the highest I've ever seen. So that's...
It's B3.
B3 is niacin. So you're not even getting the effective amount to get the performance increasing benefits anyway. So is it helpful? Nah, it just elicits an effect in the right dosage, but it usually isn't. It may help high top performing athletes get a slight edge. That's it.
It's a thing. That's all.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
So there we have it. There's our Q&A for this week. Anything else you want to add, Shane?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.
See.
Peace out. Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Shane and I hope you learned something new and exciting today about your own health and fitness. Head over to metabolicradio.com. There you'll find our bios and our results-driven programs that are designed to help teach you everything you need to know when it comes to getting real permanent results. You can also sign up for our newsletter to get free weekly updates. To chat with Shane or I, just email us at taylor@metabolicradio.com or shane@metabolicradio.com. We would love to hear from you. You can also join the conversation on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and search for Metabolic Radio Private Forum. There you can request to join the group. We would love to add you to the conversation and answer your questions on the show. And hey, if you like our podcast, please help us grow our community by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. We would really appreciate your help. Thanks again so much for all your support and your listenership. Now go out there and spread the good word of fitness.